So with the surround pound coming back to the shop, I figured I would talk about it. Now, it is well known by everybody that the surround pound is actually pretty much the best melee to use on the Mythic Storm King horn that's not mythic. There's some argument for the Baron, but it doesn't really matter. The surround pound is a very good pick regardless. My copy is Sunbeam. If you're using it for the Storm King fight, you actually want Bright Core, because Sunbeam doesn't do any more damage to the horn than Bright Core. It's actually an environmental object, so you're not attacking an enemy, so that bonus damage just doesn't happen. It's kind of interesting. So you do want Bright Core, and this is kind of the build you want, but this isn't a best perks video. In fact, this isn't even an MSK video. Did you know that the surround pound, being really good in the MSK fight, is actually pretty good in normal missions, and maybe not even just for its raw damage, but for its heavy attack spam. And the heavy attack does not consume any durability, so you can perk this as shown here. I actually core reperked to the eliminating causes enemies to dance. I think that's better. Hitting an enemy 3 times can also be good. I don't really know if any of these is better than the other. I just figured that might be more consistent. I did do some testing before this video and it worked fine, so I don't know. But heavy attack efficiency, double crit damage, and crit rating. You might also want dancing enemies, but that doesn't affect mist monsters. So I just want crit damage, guaranteed damage, just no ifs, ands, or buts about it. And then we got water because we're doing this in a fire zone. So the idea with this build is we're going to be spamming the heavy attack, and this is the build I'm running. I don't know if this is completely optimal. I know way back in the day, Tic Tac showed a Fossil Southie build in the lead. That might be a lot more fun, but this worked for me. So we got Lotus Assassin Sarah in the lead just to do some extra damage. This is Assassin Sarah, by the way. I just use her because I can. Totally Rocking Out, Battle Beat and Fumble, just to have Totally Rocking Out active. And then this is how we get our energy. We have Anti-Cuddle Sarah in support, giving us 7.5 per kill. Then we got Saurian Focus. Now, when you're running a melee build, you are constantly being attacked by enemies. You will not have shield. I promise you, this is way more active than you might expect, and it actually does a pretty good job. And then Monster Smash is the only way we're going to heal in this build. I think Coconuts might be better, but I don't wanna. So, Arleniza it is. And yeah, this is the build I'm going to run. Let's hop in game, give it a go, and have some fun. All right, so this build requires no setup at all. You get to just jump in and start killing stuff. And this is pretty much how it works. Like, it's actually really satisfying. Some enemies will run away, but you can chase them down just fine, and then face into the crowd, killing everything at once. All right, we got another group of enemies, a bit more spread out, but you can still see the damage. So you kind of have to get away. There's not like really good 360-degree damage on this weapon. You sort of have to face your targets, which is not my favorite, but you can work around it pretty easily, and it still does pretty well. And then, of course, I'm running Lotus Assassin in the lead, so we just use the throwing stars so we don't have to track her down. All right, so we got a nice big encampment here, and I'm standing in the storm. Let's see if this weapon can keep up. What are we dealing with here? All right, Riot Huskies and Shielders. That's a terrible combo, but it's actually completely okay because you can cut right through it. And so long as you're not taking a bunch of damage up front, it actually does completely fine. Like, look at that. It's actually just annihilating everything. If I get up here, get in a little bit of a choke point, it does lunge you a bit forward when you attack and sometimes shuts down completely. I don't know why that happens. It does lunge you a bit forward, which can mess you up, but it's actually really good. And it's really weird. Sometimes when a bunch of enemies hit you, it just stops you from doing anything. That is a bit of a downside. This is really a fun loadout. If you guys are just looking for a fun way to take advantage of this weapon, maybe you used to use it for the Mythic Storm King fight, but you got the Fury now. You don't need it anymore. And you want to respec your weapon as something kind of fun and enjoyable, you can do this. And I didn't say that on accident earlier. 0 durability is consumed when you use the heavy attack. I'm going to show it in a second here. I have attacked enemies normally with this copy. Like I said, I did some testing prior, but look at the durability on this thing after all of that. 296.5 out of 300. It has gone down none for the entire game. So yeah, a little Jigglypuff sound effect to commemorate that moment. And as always with an energy spam build, an energy pylon will go a long way, give me 20 extra energy to work with. All right, one more little baby encampment before the mission begins, and this will give me an opportunity to demonstrate something serious about this weapon, and that it is not a Mist Monster Slayer. It'll do okay versus these blasters. It's not the biggest deal, but you can see versus the Smasher, it's okay. It's not good. It's not great, but it works. I'm just gonna avoid that right there. You can see versus the single Mist Monster, it can kind of hit it twice sometimes if you're lucky, but this is a crowd clearing weapon. All right, you should handle this with like a discharger on the side. I suggested this in the Stream Thrasher video. Link to that down below if the video's out. And yeah, that discharger can handle the big targets while you eliminate the crowds. Sometimes I don't like to use the heavy attack on the single targets, so I'll just do that. that, but I don't know that it's faster to swing than it is the heavy attack. It's kind of the same speed, so might as well save the durability and just use the heavy attack. All right, the defense begins. So somebody in the comments in the stream today, Twitch link down below, suggested something interesting. So the Prickly Patroller hero just came to the game, and she gives you a little bit of base damage when enemies attack you, and that would be nice if the 10 base damage wasn't so disgustingly low. The video on Prickly Patroller should be out by the time this video is released, so link to that down below if you guys want to see my review on her, but I'll save you the time. She is bad. It is not a good hero. In fact, the video I recorded in was actually this mission yesterday. So it was a mission where there are enemies, life leech. So let me just show it here. When they attack you, they restore health. That was completely balancing out Prickly Patroller, just doing nothing. She was not doing any damage to the enemies whatsoever. So it was really bad. And yeah, it's not a hero that's going to work in this build. Now, I mentioned Southie should always be active, but I wasn't in the thick of it. So I'm actually intentionally going into a crowd right now just so I can take damage and get some energy generation. I saw that I was out of energy there for a second, and I thought that shouldn't be the case. I need to stop bullying smashers. I already showed you guys that it's not good against them. They were just so low health. I had to. But now that I'm in the crowd, you can see that, like, getting consistent eliminations plus Southie, I am totally topped up on energy. Now, that Southie edition was because of the Steam Thrasher, that video I mentioned earlier. I used that build for this. You might be able to do away with Southie. If you guys want to try out this build and do some testing on your own, have some fun with it, you could actually get some extra damage if you find that Southie's not necessary. So, you know, you can mix and match whatever you prefer. Maybe you're somebody who doesn't mind running out of energy periodically and wants the extra damage of, like, I don't know, Corrosive Strikes or Paleo Luna, or you can't use a second Assassin Sarah, but you know what I mean. Just find something that works and have some fun with it, because that's what this build is. Just a fun loadout. Like, you can see with enemies coming at me from all angles, this is working great. Like, it's super efficient, doesn't use nearly as much energy as the Steam Thrasher. You're not spinning constantly. You're only attacking when you look at an enemy and right click, and it's actually doing really well. And again, sometimes it just stops working. I don't know if that's a network thing or if that's a Fortnite bug. I have no idea, but not attacking for a second led to me taking a bunch of damage, and that is definitely not good if you're trying to stay alive. So yeah, look at that. I'm frozen. Ah, run away. Okay, so let me reposition a little bit here and attack from the outside, because that's kind of what you want to do. You know, you just come in just from this angle and knock them out. Unfortunately, like I said, that heavy attack moves you forward slightly, which it's stopping me again. Yeah, it's not a network thing. It's in the upper left. It looks completely fine. I don't know what's happening there, but it's going to get me killed, and I know it. But yeah, if you get moved in slightly, it's a little tricky to stay on the outside. Thank you, teammate. And I'm kind of struggling with that right now. That's another problem with the Smasher just did. So in that encampment that I showed earlier, kind of annihilated it. I ran that in a previous mission and got completely destroyed, because what happened was the Smasher interrupted my heavy attack, and then the enemies started attacking me, and then I froze just like that, and then I died horribly. So as fun, and if you don't use this build often, unique this loadout is, it has some serious drawbacks that make it from being like a recommended build. This is a fun loadouts playlist, okay? If you were linked to this video in a stream, then you might be in the playlist right now. The link is down below in this video if you guys want to check it out. I show fun loadouts in this playlist, stuff that is a great way to entertain yourself if you're looking to take a break from the meta. Some of these builds are unironically extremely strong, like the strongest loadout I've ever shown, or the crack shot videos. Those videos are insane. Or the Stormblade video is actually my favorite melee loadout, I call it, and that's actually a slightly modified version of this build, pretty much. But Whiteout Fiona in the lead, Stormblade is your main weapon. You're constantly hitting crit hits, cause an explosion. Extremely fun. However, not all fun loadouts are super, super meta. So you can see this weapon actually does pretty decent. Against crowds of enemies, you're making them dance, which makes them stop attacking you. And if you got that perk in there, you're actually doing extra damage. Pretty solid. Pretty fun, and you can actually use this in like endurance or war games where you glitch out and die, and it'll eliminate crowds of enemies. But versus those bigger targets, you're gonna struggle. So that's kind of the essence of this build. Fun to spam it, just enjoy it. Now, wave 9 is important. So if you guys have never played Retrieve the Data, or if you've never paid attention to this, the mini boss spawns on wave 10, and I suspect we're not gonna be doing anything to it. If smashers are out of range for us, then it's not gonna get any better. But I'll still try my hardest. You know, little reminder to everybody watching this video. I'm gonna keep making this PSA until I stop seeing it happen. Trap vulnerable mini bosses do not really take damage from regular weapons. They will technically take some damage, but it's so little that you should just not bother. And Smokescreen is melees only and abilities only. Smokescreen will also take significantly reduced. Oh god, okay, yeah. This is not gonna happen. Discharger, also PSA, does significantly less damage to regularly sized enemies. It does a lot more damage versus smashers. So if you've ever wondered why you shoot a discharger shot at a mini boss and it does nothing, if it wasn't a smasher, you probably didn't want to use a discharger. Only use a discharger versus smashers. Other weapons are significantly better, like the pot shot, ground pounder, husk buster. You've got the Wrath. Storm King's Wrath is always an excellent choice. And if you're running a mission where you have a smokescreen mini-boss and you're running an AR or any kind of range weapon, switching to the Mythic Ravager is gonna be completely fine. I know, you're not using a melee loadout. It feels wrong, but I promise you, it's gonna be good. In fact, smokescreen mini-bosses can't have an element, so running a physical Ravager is actually gonna do a tremendous amount of damage, and it's the whole reason that I keep this copy on hand. Actually, yeah, this copy on hand at all times. So, yeah, I died showing you that, so please use my information and be a good teammate. Well, the mini-boss is dead, no doubt due to my extreme damage output. I probably could have helped a bit more, but my teammates had it handled. I think we pretty much see what we need to see. This doesn't need to be a super long video. It's a satisfying weapon to use, but you get what I mean. So, yeah, if you have the surround pound and you've been using it for MSK, maybe this is a fun way to switch it up. If you're a little bit bored from the meta, give this loadout a try. I think you'll have a decent time and enjoy it. So, yeah, check out one of the recommended videos at the end if you haven't already. I plugged a bunch of videos in the description down below. Be sure to check out all those. Don't forget about them. I'll see you guys in the next video. Thank you so much for watching, and have a nice day. And then